All right, welcome to Saturday Night Protection Live with your host, Christopher Gelson, the director and lead teacher of the not-for-profit organization Protect Your Children Incorporated, based down here in beautiful Florida, where it is hot. I don't know about where you guys are at, but it is hot. It is like in the 80s, and it's beautiful. Gotta love it. Gotta love the heat, man. Did enough of the cold weather in my days, so we enjoy the heat down here. As long as you have AC everywhere you go, of course, you know, in the car and in the store and in the house. And woo, man, I'll tell you something. It's wild. Hello to everybody in the chat. Bryden is in the chat. Jay from Michigan is in the chat. Anna Mayo in the chat. Good to see you. A bunch of other people watching on Rumble and on Facebook as well. Welcome to you. If you post a comment on Facebook, we can see it right here on the dashboard, and we may display some of your comments. So please go ahead and comment away, because the show is better when people are interactive. Tracy, servant of Christ, in the chat. Good to see you. How you doing, Tracy? Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. Yes, tonight we are talking about apathy. Man, I'll tell you, it's not a word that we hear a lot of anymore, but apathy is a killer. When people get apathetic to certain situations, they tend to not do anything, right? They tend to look the other way, maybe put their heads in the sand. And the story we're going to cover tonight, which actually does have to do with Scream, and kids and teachers. Unbelievable story. Wait till you hear this. I mean, it just gets darker and darker. It's like a demon, man. There's no doubt that some of these people are like possessed or something. I mean, the stuff that they come up with is just absolutely horrific. And, you know, we talk about the psychology of these predators, these PDF files. And why do we do that? Well, we do that so the listener and us, as we learn, can understand these people more. And that doesn't mean like, oh, we understand why. No, not that kind of understand. No, we want to understand why they're doing what they do, because once we figure that out, then we can look at the ways that they're going to do it. Right? Their modus operandi, if you want to say, right? And the police do this all the time. You know, when they're trying to catch a killer or catch a serial bank robber or something, they always look at the ways that they're doing things, right? What are they saying? What are they doing? Like, how are they getting access to people to harm or to banks to rob? How are they not getting caught, right? They want to look at all of that stuff. How do they trap people, right? PDF files trap kids. How do they do that? This is all psychology, right? So when we talk about how these people are doing what they're doing, then we learn. And if we learn and you learn, then you know how to better equip your kids, because then you can inform them of the lies and the tricks and the traps and the threats and the grooming techniques and all of that goes into abusing a child. And I've got to remind you that every one of these kids, when we bring these stories, all of them are a son or a daughter to somebody out there. And I want to tell you something, that 95% of these cases that we talk about and cover on this live show, well, the red flags were all there. The red flags were there. Parents should have been doing more. They could have noticed things if they were paying attention, if they weren't so apathetic to the situation of child sexual abuse. It is a horrific epidemic that is only increasing and getting darker. And you've heard it said before, but all it takes for evil to thrive is for good people to do nothing. All right. Jay from Michigan in the chat says body language. That is one of the things that you look for. Absolutely. And we're going to focus tonight on this story of this school teacher. You know, and from what we understand, her husband knew what was going on. And other people knew what was going on and did nothing. That's apathy. That's like a refusal to see the harm that is being put on these children. And it is absolutely crazy. And that's why we think education and awareness is key. You have to be educated. You have to have awareness of what these PDF files are doing online and in the community in order to protect your children. Hence the name of the organization, Protect Your Children. All right. Now, speaking of protect your children, we would like to have you go, not right now, but afterwards, visit our website. There it is right there, protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. Lots of great information, resources, all the live shows, podcasts, topical podcasts of different types, all sorts of great stuff. We completed a 5-part series 2 weeks ago on this in-depth protection packet right here, in-depth protect packet, which is a protection packet of guidelines, which includes some psychology of these people, why they do what they do, how they do it, the tricks that they use, the threats that they use, the blackmail, how they get kids trapped in sextortion. All of that stuff is all included in this in-depth protection packet. So make sure you take some time to download that onto your computer, print it, sleep with it next to your bed, memorize it, go over it with your kids, whatever. But just definitely open it up and read this in-depth protection packet, please. It's a lot of great information. So as you can see from the menu, the live shows are here, tips on preventing kidnapping, different topical podcasts, other child protection videos, how to protect your kids online, and it goes on and on and on. Tons of information at protectyourchildren.org. So please check that out. All right. Woo, man, I'll tell you something. Jay from Michigan says, yeah, share it everywhere. Yes, please. Please do. That is the only way we're going to get this information out there, ladies and gentlemen. You have to share. And I'm telling you, we've had an increase in people sharing, and we're very thankful for that. But there's still a lot of people who do not share our content. And I'm telling you, and it's not about getting views. This isn't like a race to see who can get more views or more subscribers. We could, the only thing that views and subscribers tells us is that more people are seeing the education and hearing and learning the awareness of what is happening to our kids. And it encourages us, right? But it also helps the algorithm. Okay. 85% of the people on our YouTube channel that comment are not subscribed. Go figure that one out, right? Now, I know that's a big problem, but subscribers helps. You hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, you start getting some ad revenue, and that helps out too. So, just clicking that subscribe button, click that share button, man, I'll tell you what, it's not that hard. It's not hard. And we have to be determined to do it. Jay from Michigan says social media blocks us, so sharing is the key. Absolutely. We have in our Protect All Kids from Predators group, there's 2.3 thousand members in that group. And I just looked earlier and we did a post about this live show, and I can tell you that 6 people saw it. 6 people out of 2.3 thousand. Okay. So that just tells you social media is not going to do us any favors, but people deliberately going to that group or deliberately going to our business page, right, which has like 9,100 followers on it. If you go there and you see some stuff there, and then you just click share, just share it, right, and get it out there. It's not that hard. It doesn't take a lot, and you're showing that you're not apathetic to the situation of child sexual abuse. So we thank you in advance for that. All right, we do like to protect kids around here. That is something that we obviously do. We do it through education and awareness and other community things where we get involved. One of the things that we like to do is point out hero kids. Yes, kids that have done amazing things. We like to share this so we can remind everybody of how awesome kids are, how beautiful kids are, how selfless kids can be, right? And a lot of kids got such great heart, man, and they want to just do good things, right? And that has a lot to do with their upbringing and a lot to do with their family, a lot to do with their spiritual values and things like that. But you know who wants to wreck that? Wretched, evil PDF files. Okay? Those people do not care about what your child wants to do when they get older. They don't care about their dreams in a career path that they have. They don't care about their artistic ability. They don't care if they're a great gymnast. They don't care if they can play guitar or violin or the flute really good. They don't care about that. They care about touching your kids, using them. That's the only thing that these PDF files give a crap about, right? And that should anger you as it does us. Because when we see these hero segments that we bring every week about kids that have done just amazing, great, awesome things, we want to continue that, to see that happen, right? We want these kids to be safe and protected, and I know you do as well. So let's take a look at this hero segment. We'll be right back in a minute. 41.
Scraping, taping, painting, and serving up food. Not what you would normally consider a summer camp for students, but these Palm Beach and Martin County teens chose to spend their summer break helping the Belglade community.
Our students, they live to give, they want to serve others, and they want to give to something bigger than themselves.
Christ Fellowship's Student Week summer camp program has grown to nearly 800 students that help make a difference in the Belglade community.
Feels like we're actually having an impact on the people. We're not just out here sweating and swatting bugs. We're actually touching their hearts, and that's what we're out here to do in the first place.
I want for y'all. We all know how to know what we are doing, and that's good. Y'all got a bigger heart and care for us.
Yeah, it looks like the timing
Gratitude
is
and
off
appreciation
on,
on one side, growing character and heart on the other.
I felt like I was a bit self-centered before I started coming to Belglade, but it really shifts my focus from myself onto the people around me. And it makes me, I guess, more compassionate because I care more about the people around me and serving them rather than myself.
The Christ Fellowship group has been coming to Belglade for what they call Student Week for 7 years now and plan to for many more.
You never grow tired of seeing a young person step up and do something that was unexpected or unlikely.
Reporting from Belglade, James Whelan, WPTV News Channel 5.
And the video will continue to play. Okay. Hey, that's awesome, man. Sorry about that delay there. At least over here on our end, there was a delay between the audio and the video, but you got the point. And I'll tell you what, man, it's so beautiful. I love to see that. Those kids are making a difference in the world, making a difference in their community. They're changing lives. And the first thing I thought about was spring break, summertime, beach, having fun, staying home, sleeping late. You know what I'm saying? No, not these kids. No, these kids are out there feeding people that are hungry, helping people fix up their homes, talking to them about faith, encouraging them, and being friends to people who really need it. And that is what it's about. That's what makes us a great country, okay? It starts right there with these kids that care about other people, and we want to protect them from these PDF files who will destroy their lives. All right? So awesome for that. So what is apathy? Let's see what we got here. Let's look it up. I'm glad you asked. Do I have a definition? Yes, I do. Look at that. Apathy is a state of indifference or lack of interest or enthusiasm towards something or someone. It is the feeling of not caring or being unaffected by a situation, event, or person. In other words, apathy is a lack of emotion, motivation, or concern. Everybody got that? There'll be a test later on. Okay. Yes, we'll test you on it. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced apathy in your life? Did you ever have a situation that you were going through and you felt like somebody was just completely apathetic to it? Like you're trying to tell them how bad something is or what you're going through, and they just seem like they don't care. Like they're unaffected by it. They're not interested. They're just listening to you talk. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. Now, when you bring it around to the situation, the epidemic that we have of child predators, man, let me tell you what. If people on social media, and if you're telling your neighbors and you're talking to people at work and you're doing your thing and you're saying to people, hey, there's been 190 teachers arrested this year for communicating with kids and doing indecent acts with children. You'd think that they would go, holy crap, I want to go check my child's phone. I think most parents would. I really do. But there are that group of parents that are just like, I don't think it'll happen to my kid. It's not going to happen to my child. Nope. They're too smart. I've already talked to them. Not worried about it. It's not really that big of an issue. It's only being highlighted because of social media now. It's not getting worse. It's always been like this. Do you know why people say that? Do you know why people say it's not getting worse? It's always been like that. Do you know why? Because they're scared. If they have to actually accept the fact that the situational abuse that's happening to our children is getting worse and worse, then they get scared for their children. And it also means that they have to start doing something, because then they feel like they have a responsibility. But to sit there and say, nah, it's not that big of a deal. It's not really happening a lot. It's just, with the news, they bring bad news all the time and people just want to get clicks. But it's really not that big of a situation. That's apathy. Okay? When it comes across on someone's feed on social media where they're catching another predator, oh, that's just entertainment. That's not really happening. That's apathy. And I hate to say it, but I really think we have a huge issue with apathy in this country. We are so darn comfortable in America. We have entertainment 24/7, stimulation 24/7, plenty of things to do, places to go, nice houses to live in. And it's like a lot of people just don't want to think about this situation. When we hear about these school teachers, for example, we know that there were warning signs. We've been calling for the schools to be held accountable, to do more. And the reality is that they're not doing enough. It's almost like they just don't want anything to do with it. And that's apathy. And it can't be tolerated. There's been a few times where we posted a quote unquote disturbing or shocking photo of something we found on social media. And the first response we get from a lot of people is, take it down. That's wrong. You shouldn't have that up there. Oh, now you're concerned. This is happening 1 million times a day on 20 different platforms. None of them that check age, none of them that verify identity, none of them that are protecting your kids. But we post a picture of a child, which we black out the eyes and we protect their identity, that we see, and people start complaining and tell us to take it down. No, we're not going to take it down. You know why? Because we want people to see it. We want people to know exactly what the heck is going on. When you go on to Facebook threads, and it's a constant stream of young kids saying how old they are and where they live, and they can get you anything you want, we've got a problem. When technology companies allow this, they are being apathetic. When the federal government is not cracking down on this in the way they need to, they are being apathetic. When the school systems refuse and the school districts refuse to have presentations on how to protect kids from abuse, from teacher abuse, neighbor abuse, family abuse, then the schools are being apathetic. When the churches and the men in the cloth will not talk about this subject in church, the church is showing an indifference, and the church is guilty, and they are being apathetic. And this is what's happening. I don't know how many churchgoers we got out there, but how many of you actually heard your pastor or somebody talk about the epidemic of child sexual abuse? They don't talk about it. And they can't sit there and go, well, it's not really biblical. Excuse me? I believe there was some words that a really important guy spoke that said, if you harm a child, it's better for you to have a millstone hanging around your neck and be tossed into the lake. I believe that guy also said, don't stop the children from coming to me. So don't tell me this conversation doesn't belong in the church. It belongs in the church, in the synagogue, everywhere, in the temple, in the schools. But we have a huge problem with apathy in this country. Excuse me. Yeah, we do. All right. Sorry, a little cough there. It's unbelievable. All right. Excuse me. Let's see what we got here. Jay from Michigan in the chat. I'm going to throw this up here. He said, I got a judge that brings in probationers once a week as a group, excuse me, to discuss SA and the drugs, and he volunteers. You see what I'm talking about? That's what we need. That's exactly what we need. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable that there's not more. I'm telling you. All right. Let's bring you a warning. Now we know what apathy is, right? But we do have some good people, okay? A lot of good people, actually, that are trying to warn against this situation, especially the dangers that our kids are in, okay? And in this case, it's the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office who put this video on X, aka Twitter. Still like calling it Twitter, by the way. And he's warning parents about the dangers of predators on social media that their kids are talking to. Now, we want to see more of this. This kind of stuff is great. This is what we need. Let's listen to this. It's about 1:27. Very, very, very important. Let's check it out.
Online crime. Specifically, we focus on criminal activity, focusing on child pornography and the exploitation of children online. During our investigations, we identify predators and pedophiles online that may be trying to target our children to elicit them into a sexual relationship or to elicit sexual images from them online. So there's a bunch of things you can do to help your children out. Best thing to begin with is to speak with your children, to educate them on the dangers of communicating with people on the internet. Multiple people pose as different individuals online and try to start a conversation just to get your children talking. And then from them there, they try to evolve that conversation into something more sinister. Yep. Also, I tell them to monitor their children's devices so they can set up parental controls on their cell phones, their tablets, their computers. Parents can set up different parental controls to control and to monitor any activity that their children may be doing online. And then also control when they have access to these devices. Maybe don't have your child go to bed with the cell phone with them. Maybe control that in your room before they go to bed and things of that nature. We're constantly hunting these pedophiles online. We're doing everything in our efforts to identify, detect, and locate and apprehend these pedophiles. And just know we're working 24/7 around the clock to identify and apprehend these pedophiles.
There you go. And he says right here, this is Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, protecting kids from online predators. The internet can be a dangerous place for kids, but our internet predator unit is working tirelessly to stop those who prey on them. In this takeover, our detective shares crucial tips on how to keep children safe online and on their cell phones. Team HCSO is committed to protecting our community. Let's work together to keep our kids safe. Yes, thank you. Absolutely. I'm telling you. It seems like we got, is there a delay, guys? Can you tell me if there's a delay when you see and hear that video on the videos we're playing? Because we're catching a delay on this side. Seems like it's audio is quicker than the video, which not sure why, but let me know if you're catching that same thing. Oh, let me do a quick speed test here and see how we're looking on the bandwidth and all that good stuff. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's okay. Doing all right. All right. Just checking the vitals here. The vitals are good. Vitals are good. All right. So yeah, let me know out there if you're catching a delay on that with the audio and the video, please. All right. So that was our warning from Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and I'll tell you what. Listen, is it just enough? Bryden says there's a slight delay. Okay. Thanks, Bryden. If it's not just enough to say, the Hillsborough County and Pinellas, all these different counties all across the states and across the country, they all have internet predator units. Okay? Now, listen. if all that money is being spent to have a specific unit that tracks down these people, there's a problem, right? You know that there's a problem. I mean, it's just, the reality is that this problem is getting worse. Now, if you look on the screen and look at the photo, the background here. Yeah, we got the scream mask because we're going to talk about that story in a few minutes. You got your middle school kids, your high school kids. And look, that on the right-hand side, that was just a snippet from Google. My gosh, I'll tell you, I'm going to do that right now, actually. If I just go to Google and I type in, let's see, teachers arrested. I'm telling you, it's just crazy. It is crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm going to share this screen. This is like mind-blowing right here. I'm telling you. Let me go here and let me share this with you. But this is where the snippet came from. Do you see this? Now, this, I'm telling you, this goes on and on, man. This is like pages. 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 I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, look at all this. And it don't matter if they're black, white, young, old, married, single. It don't matter. Gay, straight. No, all these teachers have been arrested. Look at this. It's just going to keep going. Okay? It just keeps going. I mean, I don't know where to stop. We could just keep scrolling. Do you think we have a problem? Do you think there's an issue here? I'm just going to keep going. Eventually, we're going to get to the bottom, I think. Oh, no, it keeps loading more. Oh, my gosh. All right. You got the idea. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, Tracy makes a good point in the chat. Growing up, if you heard about something like this, it was the talk of the whole month because it was so rare. Well, now, of course, we are hearing a lot more about it because of social media and the internet, but that doesn't mean it wasn't always, that big of an issue. I think this probably has been going on for a while, right? But it is definitely getting worse. I mean, the fact that social media now can pick it up, we're actually seeing how bad it really is. I mean, if you know anybody who sits there and says, nah, it's not a problem, it's not that big of a deal, then they're suffering from apathy. Got a big problem with that. I'll tell you what. I'm going to see if I can refresh this next page here because I'm going to try to get this lag to go away. All right. I think we might be all right on that. Let me check this one. All right. Just bear with me for a second. I'm going to try to get rid of this lag. All right. We'll see what happens with that. So, yeah, we got Hillsborough County warning parents about how bad this is. Jay from Michigan says, ask Bryden. He did a 1 year in review on just teachers. I know. It is absolutely incredible, the amount of teachers that have been arrested. I mean, and we've said this before, guys. Listen, it's not like these people are too smart. Okay. Now, they do have knowledge. They got some psychology that they use. I mean, grooming is all about psychology, isn't it? I mean, they learn how to talk to the kids. They know how to, test the boundary. They know how to say the things that the kids want to hear that make them feel loved and wanted. They know how to talk to the parents to gain trust, right? So it's all about the psychology of these people. So they're not necessarily dumb when it comes to that. But when it comes to hurting these children, a lot of them are just stupid. I mean, and thank God they are, because what they're doing is they're sending pictures and videos through social media like that's never going to be tracked, right? It's like there's electronic receipts, man, and it's like they just are so dang shameless. They think they're not going to get caught. They think that the kids are just theirs for the taking, and they're not. Wow. Hey, Tracy said, need to have a shirt with a mom and a dad holding a PYC, Protect Your Children Shield, and Sword of Knowledge standing between a child and a predator. I like that idea. We're going to look into that. We do have, I'd say we haven't talked about it, but we do have a whole store of merchandise, by the way, where we have shirts and coffee mugs and all that other good stuff, but our logo on it. But we don't promote it a lot, but It is out there, and the link can be found on our website, protectyourchildren.org. But it is about the psychology of it. And apathy is also a psychological situation. Anybody who can stand by and watch what's happening and not be proactive in trying to stop it is part of the problem. Yeah, I'll just say it like that. Anybody who can watch what's happening, see it's a problem, and refuse to do something to help stop it is part of the problem. And we are so sick and tired of seeing all these parents that are letting their kids on social media, dancing around half naked, popping their hips. I mean, it's terrible. And these predators are having a field day. And what parents are letting their kids do this? Oh, they're probably sneaking it. Well, then that means the parents aren't checking the kids' phones. You know, it all comes back to the parents. It really does. And other people that are charged with the protection of these kids. Now, we have brought you this guy before. This is Jack Reynolds. And you say, man, you've played this a couple of times. Yeah, we played it a few times, and we're going to keep playing it. You know why? This is a convicted PDF file from years ago who was released, did his time, and he's being interviewed. And the lady's asking him, how do you pick these kids? Like, how do you get access to them? Like, what, let me know how you work. And the guy apparently is looking for some kind of redemption or something. And he's basically saying, look, this is how the PDF files do it. This is how they do it. And we think it's very important to listen to what this guy's got to say. Now, do we think he's redeemed? I don't know the guy's heart, but I can tell you what he's saying right here is absolute truth. Hopefully the audio and the video issue is fixed.
Grooming. I would check out
it's still wrong, but we'll deal with
situation. I would check out their clothing to see how well they were, financially. I would check out their social interaction with other kids. When we were on the ballparks or on the gym floor, I would make sure which ones I wanted to molest. I would give them special attention, congratulate them, talk to them when I know that I would never be allowed to talk to anybody else. Aside from everybody, I would give them the attention that an official is not supposed to give anybody. And it made them feel like, wow, he's paying me attention. It is a direct form of grooming.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child. If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him. For the simple fact that if I could molest him, I could lure him into grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it.
Sicko.
And therefore, I could manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me as well.
So perhaps a child that doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, maybe not really a strong family, things like that.
Yes, no spiritual values, weak in education, needs help in many ways, even from split parenting, has a mother who may be having problems with the family, well, here comes superhero in to help out, wow, well, thank you very much. No problem. You ever need me to take them away for the night so you can have a night out? No problem. It works.
It works. Is that crazy? Whew. I mean, this guy's talking about what he looks for. Kids with no spiritual values. Kids that don't look to be well groomed, well kept. An indication that maybe there's not a lot of money in the family. or not being taken care of properly, which indicates some emotional issues that the child may have that he can seize upon. You know, looking at certain kids he wanted to abuse and looking to see if there's similar kids that they hang around with, because then he figures he can abuse them as well. I mean, that's some sick stuff. And that's coming right from the devil's mouth. Jay from Michigan said adults can be groomed too. Absolutely. That's absolutely part of it. Now with the school system, it don't happen, right? Because these teachers are just working with the kids one-to-one, right? But in other situations, absolutely. Like he said, split families. Here comes the hero. You know? Tracy said in the chat, looking for disinterested parents who don't do anything, who won't do anything. Absolutely right. I mean, it's just, man, it is wild. Just looking through the chat here. Let me see something here. Getting ready to bring you our main segment. I want to hopefully try to fix this lag problem because it drives me nuts. All right, well, it might be all right here. Let's see. All right, let's give it a try and see what happens there. But, you know, I tell you, you know, it's very frustrating. It really is. And you might think, you know, what really difference can you make? But, you know, it's just, you know, people don't want to hear about it and talk about it because it's uneasy. We understand that. You know, I mean, God, you know, when we've had to tell families that, you know, 90% of abusers are known by the family. I mean, just think about that for a minute. That it's somebody that the child knows or someone that the family knows, 90%. I mean, think about it. You're a parent and you hear that stat. I mean, it's going to take you back and just be like, oh my gosh. Then you start going through the names of everybody that you know that's been around your kids. And it's hard. Marie T, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. She said, or someone in the family. Absolutely. And parents, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that, you know, a cousin or an aunt or an uncle, brother or sister, like might be abusing their child. They don't want to hear it. And so they just don't pay attention. Bryden, this is why we love Bryden so much. He said, I would be happy if I spent a whole year talking about this subject and just one parent started checking their child's devices. Amen. Amen, brother. I'm telling you. It's your words to God's ears, man. I'm telling you. And that's what it's about. Me and Marie T is co-director of the organization. We were talking the other day on the phone about this. And, you know, every now and then we get to see the impact that we're making. You know, and we'll hear comments or we'll get messages saying, hey, thank you. I didn't know this. And wow, I just looked at my child's phone and we found this and that. And so we, you know, get the encouragement that we're making some kind of a difference here. You know, we checked our TikTok stats the other day, TikTok of all places, you know, and there's hundreds of thousands of views of our protection videos on TikTok. Well, who knew that was happening? You know, I mean, the reality is that there's a lot of education and awareness going out. And once you see it and know about it, you can't claim ignorance anymore. And all those people that see it need to start checking their kids' devices, monitoring what they're doing online, seeing who they're messaging back and forth, looking for warning signs, talking to the kids about the boundaries that they have with the people that they're hanging around. Find out the ages of the kids they're around. All those different steps. It's all part of keeping your kids safe. All right, let's look at this. This is our main thing about this freaking teacher. I hope this is going to work. There might be a delay. If there is, sorry about that. Just try to follow along, but you'll get the gist of what's happening here. But we just re-uploaded the video, so hopefully it will work a little bit better. And we'll find out right now. Let's jump in. This is Matt Walsh. And the name of his video that he did was, "This teacher is allegedly part of one of the most disturbing cases we've seen in public schools." And we agree. So let's check this out.
Story, which is why I want to talk about it. But this is even more disturbing than usual. So to begin with, here's a local news report on yet another teacher sex scandal. But the details here are, as I said, even shocking by the standards of these kinds of stories. Listen to this.
Sound and video looks
New
good.
tonight, more teenage students in Morgan County are now coming forward, and they're accusing a former teacher of sexual misconduct with a minor. Ashton Hackman is in Morgan County to explain why the prosecutors are now looking to bring even more charges against this woman.
31-year-old Brittany Fortenberry has been held here at the Morgan County Jail since her arrest last month on charges of sexual misconduct with a minor. Since then, 5 new victims have come forward with additional allegations. Prosecutors have asked to file up to 24 additional criminal charges against her, including 10 counts of child molesting, sexual misconduct with a minor, and 13 other charges for disseminating material harmful to minors and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Court documents say all of the teens reported Fortenberry would send them nude and explicit photos and videos on Snapchat and force them to have group sex at her Martinsville home. A child victim advocate says it's important for parents to feel comfortable having difficult conversations with their children.
And what we just encourage is that parents kind of ask that open-ended question, and they give their children a chance to speak, and then they praise their courage at that time rather than asking them questions about what they did or why they didn't tell. The last thing that we want is a child to feel blame or shame as a result of making a disclosure.
We reached out to the Morgan County Prosecutor's Office to see when these formal charges will be filed. We have not yet heard back.
Now, it actually gets much worse than what you just heard because according to WTHR in Indianapolis, this woman allegedly abused multiple middle school boys, 13 years old, were the victims, at least some of the victims. And that includes, on one occasion, allegedly having them all wear Scream masks, masks from the movie Scream, while she molested them. And she was also paying them, these young boys, hundreds of dollars for them to send her explicit pictures.
Now, think about that for a minute. Yeah, Jay from Michigan said Snapchat. What a shocker, right? TikTok, what a shocker. The fact that she was sending all these allegedly sending all these explicit images and videos to these children's phones and the parents didn't know it, that's apathy. Okay? I don't really need to check my child's phone because this isn't going to happen to them. Okay? I mean, it's unbelievable. And the whole angle with Scream, it's just creepy, right? I mean, it's the mask is of a dead demon, ghoulish person. And she wanted these boys to wear this mask while she was abusing them. Listen, if that's not demonic, I don't know what is. I mean, that's just some really dark, demonic garbage. And that is what is possessing these freaking teachers. I mean, that's just some dark, really weird crap. Man.
$100 to $800 in some cases. And she told them that if they reported any of this to anyone, that she would kill herself. And she was
okay. Got to interrupt again. Remember, we did a story a couple of months back about the children that are on Threads and how some of them were actually accepting payments. The children would post, "I can get you anything you want." That is a code. That's code for, hey, if you want videos or pictures, I can get them for you. And it's all about the money. Are there kids accepting money in exchange for videos and images of themselves in indecent situations? Yes, there is. No, the kids would never do that. I can't imagine that. They're doing it. The story that we shared, there's a podcast of it from a little while back on our website, protectyourchildren.org. Just click on live shows. And we showed the image of the child looking into the camera, and he was holding something on the back of his phone. Now, it's clear that the phone wasn't being used to film him, but his phone was facing forward like it was. And in the pouch of his phone was a QR code. And when you scan that QR code, it goes right to a place where you can send money. Yes, this is happening. And then the guilt trip, right? Just like Jay said, there's the guilt trip. Oh, well, if you tell anybody, I'll unalive myself. So now the kids they're not only been abused, and now they're like emotionally all tangled up because they're thinking, I don't want this teacher to die because then I'll feel guilty. Wait, what? This teacher who's hurting you? But you see, that goes into the grooming process. You know, these teachers convince these kids that they care about them, they love them, and they want what's best for them. And they build that quote unquote relationship that you can't really have with a 13-year-old and a freaking adult, but we'll call it for that, for lack of a better word. And these kids actually think that the teacher cares about them, and they develop feelings of, friendship with these teachers. And then the teacher makes their move, and then the child feels guilty. It's twisted. And that's what they're doing.
There's also drugging them, allegedly drugging them as part of this whole process of grooming and molestation and abuse. Now, assuming this is all true, it makes you wonder, as you always have to wonder in these kinds of cases, how in God's name did a woman like this get a job as a teacher in the first place?
Thank you.
Yes, we can assume that she was not advertising the fact that she's a sexual predator. She probably wasn't putting it on the resume or on the job application. She wasn't mentioning it in the interview process, but it's just impossible to believe that there were no warning signs. It's impossible to believe that she came off as totally normal and never gave any indication that she was a demented predatory freak. It's not like these people are not criminal masterminds. Okay, these are not evil geniuses we're talking about here. I mean, they're sending, allegedly, pictures back and forth. That's the easiest way to get caught, is to create this digital paper trail, which in these kinds of cases, it's every single time you hear that. That's always part of it. So my point is that these are not people who appear to be brilliant deceivers, right? And if that's the case, then how do they get the job? I mean, we know this about predators. You don't just start off one day molesting multiple children in Halloween masks at your home, allegedly.
He's about to make a great point here, and I want you guys to tune in, like, really carefully, listen to what he says. And again, this is from Matt Walsh. Give him the credit. He asked a question about how these teachers are able to get their jobs. Yeah, Jay just stole my thunder right there, man. Jay's on point. Even if they do background checks, nothing could show up. Exactly. The stats show that 88% of these predators have not been arrested. Now, they know that from the Bureau of Crime stats. And, a background check is not enough. It's not enough. And so we can let's just assume that they're doing a background check. Okay, it looks clean. Oh, no problem. They're not a criminal. Really? Have they ever heard of a term called first-time offender? Well, guess what? Before that first-time offense, there was no criminal record for anybody, was there? Now, what we've been calling for is for schools to actually have to conduct a psychosexual evaluation on these female teachers as part of the hiring process. Maybe they got to meet with a psychologist. Oh, well, that's going to cost more money. Excuse me, it's our money. It's taxpayer money that's paying for these schools. Who would be against that? They want to use some of my money to put teachers through a psychosexual evaluation so they can maybe pick up on the fact that maybe they're a freak before they get access to our children. You can use my money. But that's how it happens, because they just do a background check. But until they're caught for the first time, there's going to be no record of it.
Happens as part of a long pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of increasingly awful, deranged behavior.
Patterns.
And it's very difficult to believe that there were not warning signs. But the most disturbing thing is the larger pattern, the systemic pattern. You want to be able to write this off as an aberration, as an extreme case, as an isolated incident. You want to be able to say, well, throw this woman in jail forever and the problem solved. You want to be able to say that, but that is not anywhere close to the reality. This is not isolated. This is constant. I mean, we all know that. It's a constant, never-ending thing. One teacher after another, after another, after another. For decades and decades, decades upon decades, hundreds, thousands at this point, probably, of predatory teachers, one after another. We hear about open secrets. Right, during the Me Too era, we would always hear about this or that predator. There was an open secret that this was.
Yep.
Well, what's happening with teachers is an open secret among the entire American population.
Thank you.
It's an open secret among everybody. We all know it. And for every one that has been caught, we know it stands to reason there's another 1 or 5 others that haven't been caught. Because we also know that when you've got a systemic problem of sexual abuse inside an institution, you're not catching all of them. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes that we're in.
Yeah, we'll pause it there while he talks about Grand Canyon University, a beautiful university in Arizona. Yeah. But listen, he's right. There is an absolute pattern of behavior. They just don't wake up one day and start abusing kids. I mean, there's got to be indications in their psyche, in their mentality, in their emotional maturity that indicates that this could be a problem. But there is such apathy among the school districts and even the federal government where they will not implement any kind of reforms. And we're so sick and tired of hearing these statements from the school. Every time this happens, our first priority is keeping the kids safe and it's an open investigation, so we're not going to comment. Oh my God, will you start talking about what you're going to do? I mean, when are you going to do something about it? It's like some politicians who talk outside both sides of their mouth. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they never do it. The school systems can talk about how much they want to protect kids and keep them safe, and it's their first priority. But what are you doing? What are you changing? How are you raising awareness within your own school? Are you doing anything about it? No, we're just saying that it's horrible and we want to make sure we protect the kids. Well, I can talk about that too. Jay in the chat says all teachers, coaches, guards, principals, etc. Absolutely. Yeah, Marie T says, unfortunately, they can pass those as well. Yeah, but it's another layer. And it's a deterrent. I mean, if teachers knew that they'd have to go through a psychosexual evaluation, they're going to be wondering if, oh man, what if they pick up on this? It might dissuade a lot of these people from getting into the profession. But let's just say the schools don't do any reforms. Let's just say that they continue to hire these teachers that turn out to be predators. Okay. Well, if the parents have good conversations with their kids and they're monitoring their devices and their game systems and their communications outside of school and inside school, for that matter, if other caring teachers who don't want to hurt kids and other caring principals were fully aware and were keeping their eyes open for anything that looked odd, boundaries, communication, kids talking to other kids about how they're talking with their teacher late at night. There's lots of things that can be done. But who's doing it? That's my question.
Endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to promote human flourishing and your community. Masters or doctoral degree, academic, personal, meets you where you are. Find your purpose and wide problem. This is an epidemic. There is a decades-long epidemic of sexual abuse by educators in our school system. Yet we have not reached a point, even now, where the public is ready to treat this as an epidemic. And that's what and I'm not even playing dumb or saying this rhetorically. I really don't quite understand why there is not mass public outrage bordering on even hysteria over the fact that our public school system is infested with sex predators.
Because of apathy.
It's very difficult to understand. The public school still has not gotten the Catholic Church treatment. I've been talking about this epidemic of teacher sex abuse for many years, going back to when I was just blogging for a living. I've been on this story for many, many years. And every time I talk about it, the response is like a big yawn. Most people don't care. They don't want to discuss it. Sex abuse scandal in the church.
Now, he's going to make a great point here. I mean, he said that the public school system needs to have the Catholic Church treatment. Yes, and the Boy Scouts treatment too. Those stories got blown all over, honestly, international, worldwide media. We all heard about it, right? We all heard about the Catholic Church. We all heard about the Boy Scouts. Heck, we heard about Penn State. Remember the creep that was up there abusing kids? He's still sitting in prison. We heard about that. Why? Because it's Penn State. Ooh. It's very eye-catchy when you put it in a title of an article or a video. Oh, it's Penn State. Ooh, we better talk about this. That's big. Oh, it's the Catholic Church. We better talk about that so we can make, God's people look bad. Oh, it's the Boy Scouts of America. Okay, we better cover that. That's national. That'll get a lot of attention. But yet the public school system is infested with predators, and the national news organizations are yawning about it. Why is that?
Yes, that's a big deal. Let's discuss it. Sex abuse scandal in Hollywood. Yes, let's turn that into a news cycle that lasted like an entire year. But sex abuse in public school, where we send like 50 million children every day, somehow doesn't attract anywhere close to the same level of interest. Even though almost none of us have children in Hollywood, very few people these days, comparatively few people these days are going to Catholic Church, and therefore comparatively few. There's comparatively few people are, and even if they are, sending their kids in to be altar boys and all the rest of it. So, those are institutions where, compared to the public school system, right, very few children are at risk. The public school system, though, again, 50. What's the latest number? I think it's around 50 million kids are going every single day into this environment, and yet, and we all know. There's no one. If you said, "Oh, there's a sex abuse epidemic with teachers in public school," I don't think there's any. You'd meet anyone out on the street that would deny that and would say, "What? I haven't heard that. What are you talking about? That's crazy talk." Every time we see one of these stories, we all say the same thing. Oh, another one? Yeah, here we go. Here's another one. And yet we're just not treating it like an epidemic. Now, I do know part of the reason. I know why the media is not interested in pursuing this story. What was that movie that won all the Oscars, Spotlight, about the Boston Globe journalists or whatever it was that help uncover the sex abuse epidemic in the Catholic Church, particularly in the Boston area. And the movie was fun. It was kind of a boring movie. It didn't deserve to win all the awards it did. But that's that's Hollywood calling attention to that problem and sort of canonizing these journalists that were chasing down the story. Well, where are the journalists chasing down this systemic abuse epidemic in the public school system? Where is the Boston Globe style expose about? I'm not talking about just reporting on one case or another isolated, but where are the big stories, right? Or the journalists that were chasing down in the early days of Me Too. Where are the big stories reporting on? Look, here's this. It's not just one thing. Here's the whole story of how this is happening. Look, here are the administrators that are covering it up. Here are the teachers that are accused of inappropriate conduct, and rather than being arrested or fired, they're just moved to another district. All of that is happening. The story is right there.
That's a great point. The Me Too movement, which, in some sense, it definitely was needed, and it brought a lot of light to how women were being treated, and some men too, in Hollywood. And a lot of courageous people shared their stories, and they spoke out about, the casting couch, if you will, and other situations and how women were being treated. And that's a very important story, and we're glad that came out. The Sound of Freedom tried to break ground on this epidemic of child trafficking, and they just poo-pooed that. And the lead actor, can't think of his name, he's a famous Hollywood guy. He was in Hollywood movies and TV years and years before that. You'd think that they'd be like, hey, he's got a new movie out, but they didn't want to talk about that. But how is it that the Me Too movement gets all this attention? The LGBT movement gets all this attention. Racial differences and discrimination gets attention, and all these things should. But you have an epidemic, and you have 49.6 million kids in the public school system. And Jay made a great point about how many summer school programs are out there where the parents just drive up and drop their kids off for the day. And the national media is not talking about it. Now, why is that?
And there's no interest in chasing it down. And for the media, it's obvious why they're not interested in chasing it down. Politically, it doesn't serve them to point out that there are a lot of sex predator public school teachers. A lot. Doesn't serve them anything to point that out. And maybe that's kind of it. Maybe that explains the whole mystery here of why there doesn't appear to be any sort of intense public interest in this epidemic. And maybe the answer is that, well, the media still does have a lot of power to shape narratives. And this is a narrative that they're not interested in shaping or talking about. And so it isn't discussed. I don't know what it is. I can't explain the kind of lackadaisical attitude that not everybody, but that so many people seem to have about this. But whatever explains it, we got to snap out of it, because this is a real thing. I mean, you go back, every time I talk about this, I bring up the 2004 study that was done by the Department of Education about the teacher sex abuse epidemic. And this is 20 years ago that they did this study. And they found that, I think it was at the time, 1 in 10 students, by the time they graduate, will be the victim of sexual misconduct by a staff member at a school. 1 in 10, that's 10%. That's millions. That's millions and millions of kids. That's not a small number, okay? That's a huge number. 10% is a mind-boggling number. And that was 20 years ago. Has it gotten better since then?
Nope.
Is that how it usually works? When you've got a sex abuse epidemic in an institution and you just ignore it, does it go away? Does it get better? No. It only gets worse. It gets worse and worse and worse until somebody does something about it.
Apathy. Man, just think about that. Kudos for him doing that and bringing this to even more light. But if you got 49, let's say rounded out, 49 million kids in the public school system, and 20 years ago, 10% were being abused. 4.9 million children 20 years ago. And we know the stats are that when kids don't report, they don't get help, they don't get counseling. And the stats show that somewhere around 25 to 30% of those kids who do not get counseling and help will enter into the cycle of abusing other kids. You combine that with the millions of kids in the Catholic Church over the decades and the Boy Scouts. I hate to make it sound like this, but we've been setting the stage for a lot of future PDF files. And it's all because people won't talk about it. Now, does Matt have a point about the political side of this? Possibly. I mean, I hope it doesn't come down to that. I would hate to think that just because, I think 85% of teachers are of the Democrat Liberal Party. I would hope that wouldn't be enough for them to stay quiet. I mean, that's absolutely abhorrent. But I think it's deeper than that. I think there's an evil, demonic situation happening, and it's sweeping across the school system. And all these teachers are falling into it. I mean, when you listen to some of these teachers, you listen to them talk and they sound like they're 12 years old. I mean, it's really weird. They're talking and they're like, "Oh, please, I didn't mean to do anything. I was just trying to have fun." And you're like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're a 25-year-old college educated teacher and you're talking like you're 12. Like what is going on? Apathy. It's a state of indifference or lack of interest or enthusiasm towards something or someone. It is the feeling of not caring or being unaffected by a situation, event, or person. In other words, apathy is a lack of emotion, motivation, or concern. That is our problem today. And that apathy is leading to kids being abused. And anybody who sees this, we encourage you to check yourself and say, have I been doing my part? Am I raising awareness? Heck, did I click share? Am I trying to get this information out to people? Am I doing enough? Because that's what it's about. And Jay says he's trying. Absolutely. And I know all of you in the chat, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening online, I think you do want to keep kids safe. But I'll tell you what, we can do a little more. We can always do more. We can speak a little louder. We can demand answers. We can demand change within the school system. More importantly, we can educate the kids, our nieces, our nephews, grandkids. Monitor their devices, monitor what they're doing, who they're talking to, where they're going. All those things all play a part. But if you haven't realized that the cavalry is not coming to save these kids, TikTok and Snapchat are not going to implement algorithms to accurately pick up these PDF files and protect these kids. They're just not going to do it. It doesn't serve their interest. Just like a drug dealer is not going to start an organization that tells kids not to do drugs. It hurts their bottom line. Social media makes money off of the amount of users it has. And all these young kids will turn 18 one day and they're going to be able to buy stuff. And I'll tell you what, money is the root of all sorts of evil. Social media is not going to protect your kids. The school system is not going to protect your kids. The federal government is not going to protect your kids. Only you can do that. Apathy is leading to kids being abused. And it's frustrating. And listen, it seems like we're just trying to scoop out the ocean with a little teacup here. But as Jay said before, if we're making a difference somehow, if there's one parent that starts checking their kids' phones and makes sure they're safe, that leads to another and leads to another. Then you know what? When the end comes, we'll have something to say, won't we? That we stood up for these kids. We stood up for innocence. We stood up for purity. We protected these kids and their dreams and their hopes and their abilities. We can say that we educated parents and we helped keep kids safe together. That's what we can do. Because you know what? Everybody might be all compartmentalized into their little social media world now, where 90% of our friends on our social media agree with what we say. And that's a nice echo chamber to have. But it's not going to fix the problem, is it? Is it? No, we need to start talking to the people that don't know or don't think it's a problem. Speaking to the apathetic ones that are out there. And saying, wake up and see this is a problem, but you don't have to be scared because there's education, there's awareness, there's ways to make sure your kids are safe, and that we can work together to keep them safe. Apathy is destructive. This isn't a shameless plug, but I want to mention it. We are experiencing apathy. With 11,000 people across our social medias and 2 people that donate to help spread our work. I'm sorry, but that's sad. Let me just say it as it is. And we understand there are people that can't afford it. Totally get it. That's not who we're talking to. We're talking to the people that watch the videos, share the stuff, thank us for the content, who don't have apparently $5 a month to donate to help get this information out to thousands more. On our website, protectyourchildren.org, click on donate to help protect. You really can help us get this information out there. It's not a shameless plug. No one's getting rich here. We all have our own jobs. This is all volunteer. But we cannot get this information out there on any kind of a large basis with 891 subscribers. Okay? We're not Matt Walsh. We don't have 3.1 million. We're just a little tiny not-for-profit organization trying to make a difference in a huge problem. And we need your help to do that. And we get it. We know it's tough. We know it's tough. But we believe, we really truly believe that out of 11,000 followers, which I think over the last 3 years, you know, most of the people have probably seen our content. We think that there's a group of 100 people that can donate $5 a month. $5. And I'll tell you, that would cover the basic expenses every month and enable us to advertise and promote content and really reach a lot of people. And that starts a good cycle. You start to promote content, then you get your subscribers, you get your followers, you get more ad revenue, and it starts. But we got to start somewhere. And it's hard. I get it. It's tough out there. But honestly, we think there's a group of people that can do it. So we're asking people to go to our website, protectyourchildren.org, click on donate, sign up to donate $5 a month on a recurring basis. You can check a little box that says recurring donation. $5 is all we're asking. If you can do more, that's great, but $5. And you watch how far it goes. And we'll be talking about it. We'll be reporting. And we'll say, hey, man, this video before people started donating had 100 views. Now I want you to see it. It's got 3,000. And you'll see where your money's making a difference. We know this works. We used to have people donate, and we were advertising on social media, and we were getting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 views on posts. I mean, it was really getting out there. So we know that it works. But if there's people that have $5 a month and they don't choose to use it to help protect kids, no, we think it's apathy. And Jay says, I want a receipt. Oh, you'll get a receipt. Yeah, we do give out receipts. Trust me, tax deductible. But listen, I appreciate y'all being here. And, it's a lot of work, but we're going to round it out for tonight. It's hard to deal with this every day, but we're going to keep bringing it to you because we're committed to doing that, as well as helping to locate Zachary Bernhardt, which we haven't given up on. For you, those of you who know that story, we want to do a lot more things, and we're held back right now, but we'd like to be able to start doing more things for these children. And we're going to continue to stay on it, and we ask that you will too. We thank you for being here. A lot of you guys are faithfully here in this chat every week, and we thank you very, very much for that. Anna says they do send receipts and fairly quickly too. Yes, we try to get them out as quick. Thank you, Anna. Anna's very faithful in her donation every month. We're very appreciative for that. You guys, so Bryden has a channel as well. Jay from Michigan is doing a lot of good stuff. And we ask that you would make sure you're following our social media. That makes a difference. All those links are on our website, protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. And Tracy, servant of Christ, in the chat said, pray for the people facing storms Sunday and Wednesday. They're talking about straight line winds of 70 miles per hour and F2 to F5 tornadoes. God help it. Let it not happen. Crazy. Listen, thank you, everybody, for being here. We love you. We love your passion to protect. Please do your part. Wake up the apathetic ones. Get the information out there because it's continuing to get worse and it's getting darker. I mean, scream masks while she's allegedly sexually abusing these kids. It's horrific and it's dark. So please do your part. Get the information out there. Subscribe, share, and we'll continue to do our part as well. Thank you very much. And everybody stay safe. God bless and keep protecting.